Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be looking at e-payments and sending payments from your Sage 50 account software into your banking software. So this should be a good time saver if you're doing big batch payments of supplier payments, and we're going to show you how you can set that up today. Just before we begin, we'll just quickly go through some housekeeping first of all. So just in case you are new to these sessions, we will have placed you on mute, and that just means that you can't speak to the team directly today. If you've got any questions though, you are more than welcome to send those across using the icon that looks like a speech bubble with a question mark in the middle, and that will allow you to submit your questions across to the team. In the background, we've got Abby and Michael waiting to answer any of your questions there. We do also have a handout for today's session, so if you want to take a copy of today's slides, then you can do using the icon that looks like a document with the folded corner, and that will allow you to download the slides from there. If you do want to view this in full screen as well, you also have the option on the right hand side to make that full screen just above the exit sign there. If you do experience any sound issues, please do just try logging off and then logging back in. Normally that will resolve them if the sound does seem to cut out. But please do let us know as well if there's any issues along the way. Okay, so as mentioned, we're going to be talking about e-payments. So just going to talk about what e-payments are first of all, and then I'm going to show you how to set up e-banking in your software, how to install your e-banking plugin, setting up your supplier records in preparation for e-payments, extracting the e-payment file, and then we're going to just very briefly talk about an alternative option, which is supplier payments with our partner Modular, and where you can find out more information on that feature as well. And then we will tie it up with any final questions that we have outstanding at the end there. Okay, so first of all, we'll just talk about what are e-payments. So this allows you to add an element of automation to your processing. So rather than entering all of your supplier payments into Sage 50 accounts and then having to re-enter that all into your banking software, what ePayments allows you to do is to create a payments file from your Sage 50 software, which can then be imported into your bank's electronic software. Now, it isn't compatible with every single bank, okay? So we do have a number of compatible banks, and I will be able to provide you with a list in just a moment so that you can have a look at the compatible banks that we have available. If your bank is not available, then unfortunately it's not one that would work with your bank. What we do recommend is before you invest any time in setting e-payments up is that you just make sure that the banking components we have available are those that are going to link in with your bank account. So what we do have for each bank is an e-payment plugin. And these e-payments plugins are specific to your bank. Okay, so what we're going to see today is we're going to see the differences between a couple of different plugins because the setup of them is slightly different, and also the extraction process can be slightly different. So it's very hard for us to show you exactly what to expect, although they are very similar in their formats. But what these e-banking plugins do is it makes sure that the data has been extracted from Sage in the correct format so that it's ready to go straight into your banking software. Now, we can only take you as far as exporting it from your Sage 50 software. Okay, so today we won't be showing you how to upload it because again, each and every bank is different, but we will certainly show you how to get the data out. It can be used with CIS subcontractors. So if you have lots of suppliers who are actually set up as CIS subcontractors, it can still be used with that. And in addition, if you like the batch supplier payments window, a feature that you may not have come across, but if you're unprofessional, you have the option for the batch supplier payments, then it's also available in there as well. In addition, you can do things like your payments to HMRC from VAT returns as well. But as always, there are some restrictions. It can't be used with foreign currency transactions, and it can't be used with imported payment on account transactions either. Okay, so now we're going to go through step by step what you would need to do in order to use the e-banking or the e-payments feature. So e-banking is a term that we use around activating this electronic banking in the software. Now, really, it is just the e-payments feature that falls under that. But in the past, it also included a statement reconciliation service, which only was available in certain banks. Now, that really has been superseded by the bank feeds feature, and not all banks, like I say, did provide it. So we will show you today one that does have the statement reconciliation service on there. But if you're using bank feeds is really the newer feature and is the way forward if you're wanting to reconcile your bank. So e-reconciliation was kind of the very first basic stages of our bank feeds feature. So first of all, you need to activate e-banking in your software. So you might be looking in your software thinking, I have no idea where to even start with e-banking, can't see any features, and that's because we do need to switch it on first. Okay, so first of all, it is within settings, bank defaults, and enable bank payment, enable e-banking. Okay, so let's just have a quick look there at my software. I'm just going to bring this across so I can show you there. Okay, so here we are. We're in the demonstration data for the moment. Okay, so I'm doing everything today in demonstration data, apart from where I'm going to show you where things can go wrong. And what I'm just going to do is we're going to go into settings, bank defaults, and within bank defaults there, we've got the option to enable e-banking. So by default, it would look like this. Okay, so it looks as though it's not activated. What we need to do is tick the box there, and that will then also activate another box here, which is always create batch e-payments. And that is if you're using that batch payments window that I'll show you just a little bit later on. So I mentioned there imported payments phrase you just used. Does this mean invoices marked as paid on auto entry? I'll need to come back to that one in a moment so that we can, I'll just come back to that one just further down the line for you there. Okay, so that's us activated e-banking. And when we click on OK and pop into our bank module, what you might not see, because mine are grouped together, but you may see them separately, but under payments, you can see I now have an option for e-payments showing here. Okay, so I've got e-payments showing, and that means it is now active. It doesn't mean I can just start using it though. There are still some more steps that I need to do in order to activate that, but that is a way that we can see that this is working. I mentioned earlier about e-reconcile, so that the electronic reconciliation of your bank, again, that would show under reconcile here if you've activated e-banking. Okay, so those are the two ones that you're going to see. So that is us switching it on. So our next step, if we just pop back to the slide, so we're going to be doing a bit of back and forwards here, is to install the e-banking plugin. Okay, so this is where we can specify the bank that we're using and the particular plugin that we need to use to make sure that the format of our file that we export is in the correct format for our specific bank. Now I have added the links for both UK and Ireland, okay, onto the screen there, because obviously they are slightly different bank providers. But I'm going to show you again where you can find this in your software as well, which makes it easier to sort of locate. Okay, so let's pop back to the data there and pop back into the demonstration data. So to find the plugin, you can go to web links at the top, and in here we've got the option for Sage e-banking. Now when we load this page, which is just opened on another screen, so I'm going to pull this across, mine is recognizing that I'm in the UK, so it is giving me the UK banking list. And here we can see all of the banks that have a plugin available. Okay, now it is very important for me to note that some banks have multiple plugins. So it is really, really important that you make sure that you install the correct file as well. It's also very important for you to understand that some of these are just for BACS transactions. The majority of them are for BACS. There might be a couple of faster payment files in there, but most of these are BACS only files that they will export. So just to show you a few, just to show an example here. So for example, HBOS, they've got 3 different plugins. So just make sure if you're using them, you know exactly which one that you need to download. And you can see that this particular plugin here, the top one I'll just show you, can be used for both payments, which is payments out to your bank, and also the reconciliation service as well, if you were going to go down that route. The ones that I've installed in preparation for today are the NatWest one. So we do have NatWest also have a couple of plugins as well, as you can see there. And you can see some of them are for reconciliation only, some of them are payment only. And they've also done the Santander one, which you can see is payment only. Okay, so bear that in mind when we're looking at the screens a little bit later on. Santander is only payments, whereas the NatWest one that I have installed has the options for both. So that is the plugin. Okay, now bear in mind it's an install. It really doesn't take long. I'm talking about a few seconds or minutes. It's not a huge file that you're installing, and you will require admin access to your PC in order to install that. Also, it will need to be installed on every PC that needs to do the e-payments file. Okay, so if it's only one person responsible, you can just do it on that particular PC. It's a very quick wizard, very easy, step by step. In fact, I'll just quickly click on one, see if it'll let me do it. You can see the download there, so it downloaded in seconds, and when you open it, it'll just go through a very quick install for you. So I'm just going to close that down just so I don't derail the demonstration for this morning. Cancel that, and we'll just pop back onto our demo data there. Okay, so once we've installed those, and like I say, just a few minutes to install, what we then need to do is tell our bank that the plugin is there. So to do this, I'm just going to log very quickly into my bank account. So just clicking on 1200, when I say log in, I'm just literally clicking on the record, and we're going into the second option down, which is bank details. And as you can see, I've entered my banking details here. I've got my account number and sort code. And what we're looking at in particular here is the electronic banking. Okay, now this is a drop down. If the only option you have here is not selected, what I'd probably recommend is maybe closing your software down, maybe doing a quick restart of your PC and then trying again. If it's still saying not selected, then it hasn't in fact installed. Okay, so if you went in there now without creating or installing that plugin, you would find the option of not selected. But as you can see, when I go to click the drop down, it then tells me that I've got 2 plugins. I've got the one for RBS and NatWest that I mentioned, and I've also got one for Santander as well. So my TSB one didn't install. Now, typically you would just be using one plugin, okay? But you probably have multiple bank accounts like I do, and it might be that one of them is RBS and one of them is Santander. So I just need to tell it for 1200 which particular bank I'm using and which particular plugin. So I just want to show you the differences between the two in just a moment there. So we'll just quickly pop back to the slides for one moment. So we've installed the plugin. The next step is to configure the plugin, okay? And we only have to do this once, okay? So this might seem that there's a lot to do. It's a little bit of an investment of time, and that's why I always make sure you've got the right plugin first, but you only have to do this once. Once this is done, that is the process set up for you. So we need to configure the e-banking. We're basically going to tell the e-banking plugin where we're going to sort of store the files or pick files up from. And there is a handy link there on the screen to the e-payments, which gives you a bit more information about each individual plugin so that you can follow through the steps. And we'll do that in just a moment so you can see that in action. So we're just going to configure the e-banking plugin now. And I just want to show you this in the data there. Okay, so first of all, if I selected RBS NatWest, I'm going to select it there, and then I need to click on Configure. And it brings up this window here, and it's asking me a common directory. Okay, now this is basically asking me, where do I want to store the file once it's complete? Okay, so I can tell it exactly where to pick up the files from, or where to save my files to. So as you can see there, on mine, it's just going onto my desktop nice and easy. Now, underneath with this particular plugin, and it doesn't happen on all of them, we then have the option for the statement reconciliation service and the payment file options. Okay, so you would use this if you're using a plugin that has both options. And what I would need to do is just tick the box to override the common directory, and then it allows me to specify different locations for each service that I want to use. And again, I can just browse for the file there. So I'm going to ignore the statement reconciliation service, okay, because like I said earlier, it's not a feature that we tend to push anymore because Bank Feeds has sort of superseded that one. But on the payment file options there, you can see my directory. I could change that location if I want. It's still going to my desktop. And at the bottom, it asks for a file identifier. So if I do want to give it a particular name, I can give it a name here. If we don't give it a name, what it will basically do is pick up the date for me. There's also the file extension. So depending on your bank, your file might have a different format. So it's normally a TXT or a CSV file. Now that link that I showed you there in the handout does take us onto an article that I am just going to show you now. Just bring this one across. And if you're having problems with uploading your file because it's maybe saving it in the wrong format, then you can just come and cross-check this on this particular article. And what it allows you to do is specify your bank. So in this case, I'll pick the NatWest one and pick your banking software, and it tells you exactly what format that should be. Okay, so you can see that mine's picked up .txt there. If I was to change it to Santander, again, we can have a quick look through, and it's telling me immediately it's a TXT file. So it's just telling it what format to export that on. So a good one if you're having any issues troubleshooting, have a quick look at this particular article here. So just to head back into our data, I just want to show you how this is slightly different based on what bank type I select. So if I selected Santander now and go to Configure, you can see I don't have the common directory and the statement reconciliation service options. I only have the payment file option because we only can do e-payments with this particular plugin. So this is where I just wanted to show you some of the differences, just so that if you do come to set this up, you don't think, oh, mine's not the same as what we saw on the webinar, because they are all slightly different in their own different ways. So I've basically configured both of them. I'm just going to stick with NatWest for now, and I know everything's going onto my desktop, so that's all fine. And then if I've made any changes, I've configured or selected the bank type, always just make sure to save that to the record. And like I say, what you can also do is then go into your next bank account, and it might be an entirely different plugin, and you can do exactly the same process there. Okay, so that is setting up the bank side. Okay, so the bank has been set up. That's great. We're happy that we've got everything set up there. What we also need to do, though, we come back into the PowerPoint, is we need to do some changes on the suppliers as well. Now, what is also quite useful with the article that I showed you earlier is it shows you all of the information that you are required to have entered into your supplies as well. Okay, so typically it's going to be things like your bank name, your sort code, and your account number. So what we're going to do next, I'll just show you where you need to enter these details, just so that you can be sure that these are going to go out for you on your first extraction. So what you will need to do is all of your suppliers that you wish to pay using this method. So it might not be that you want to pay everyone in this way. You might have still some that you're paying in different methods. It might be check, it might be cash. Is for each and every supplier that you want to use e-banking for, is you need to activate it on their record as well. And this again is where I'm saying there's a bit of an investment in time. So this could take some time, but the long-term impact could be huge to you if you're doing lots of huge payment files or payment runs. So again, I'm just going to pop back into my demonstration data just to show you this. And what we're going to do is just pop into suppliers. And I do have some readily set up on the demonstration data handily. And I'm just going to pop into this one here that we've got activated and into the record. And again, what we're looking at in particular is that bank field. So in here you can see I have entered all of the information. Bear in mind some banks might require further information like a reference, or they might want the IBAN or the SWIFT number, but typically it's all the information here, the account name, the sort code and the account number. Please do remember, if it's an account number and it has zeros at the beginning, it is an 8-digit number normally, so you will need to pop those zeros in. Okay, so I've popped in the bank details, but what we also need to do is on this side under payment details is change the payment method to BACS or SEPA. And once we've done that, make sure that we save the record there. And that will make sure that we're ready for e-payments. Okay, so that is us set up. Now I can imagine for yourself that's probably going to take quite some time to work through all of those suppliers. So that's where the investment of time is. However, processing your supplier payments doesn't really change. Okay, so you would just go on with your day-to-day of processing your supplier payments on a regular basis. So just to go in and do a really quick example again, we'll pop back to the demonstration data. And in here, I'm just going to pop on a quick supplier payment for McNally Computer Supplies and bring this across. And the key thing to note is when we're processing these payments, that in the reference, we've got the words BACS in brackets. Okay, now mine just had a little space there. I've just taken that one out because that will cause a problem. Okay, but what you need to do is make sure that the reference has the word BACS in there. Okay, if you have any other reference in there, it's going to cause this to fail. Okay, so I have been on technical support in the past where nothing has gone through to e-payments, and it's because there's been something else in here. So we do need that BACS reference in there. That's another reason why we've got the extra reference field there, so you can move any references into here. So I've got some invoices on here that I'm just going to pay in full. So again, I just pay them in full as I normally would with today's date, as you can see, and I'm going to click save there. So it's done me quite a substantial payment there. So I'm just going to click save, and that's all posted. So I've processed the payment, and I might be doing many payments. I might be doing payments for all of my suppliers, and it comes to a point in the day or the week or the month when I want to actually process that to my bank and send that file to my bank to upload into my banking software. So to do this, what we need to do is pop into bank accounts, and within payments, we've got that option for e-payment. So we're finally at the point where we can use this new option here. Now again, when I click on this, the steps that follow can be slightly different depending on the plugin. Okay, so again, if you're doing this as we're going, don't be alarmed, or if you are watching this back as a video. So I'm going to pop on to e-payments. Nope, saying nothing's defined. Now see, this is exactly where a new person would go wrong and potentially start to call into technical support. So here we are showing you where things have gone wrong. So what I've done there is I've posted the payment onto the wrong bank account, but don't worry, I have actually set up something prior to today's session in preparation for this. So what I will do is highlight the correct account, so bear that in mind. I did post that transaction to the wrong account, but that's okay because we do have some other transactions in here that we can use. So I'm just going to go back to payments and select e-payments. So just make sure you've got the right bank account selected. The error we've received there was because we hadn't told it which plugin to use for that particular bank. So if I pull this across, this is my payments file. So you can see one I prepared earlier there, and we've got a couple of older transactions in here too. So I'm going to just address a question we quite often get, and that is, I've set e-payments up years ago, and I've built up a huge number of payments in here, and I'm never ever going to send them to the bank because they've all been paid. How do I get rid of them? So what you would need to do is sort of a dummy extraction of those transactions. So you would need to highlight all of the transactions that you want to export and get out of the list, and go through the process of exporting them, but just not upload them to your bank software. Okay, that's the only way we can clear them out. So in this example, I've got a few different ones. I'm just going to select my most recent purchase payment and click on send. And this is where it's very specific for my bank. So I'm going to ask it to show details there. And it's just got the payment that I'm doing. So if I had multiple suppliers in this payment run, I would have a list of all the payments showing here. And then click on OK. And again, it's just asking me to check the data. And the payment format, again, depends on your bank. Okay, so I'm going to leave this as standard domestic because that tends to be the most common. I'm not saying that is the right answer for everyone, but that tends to be the most common one we use. And then we can click on OK, and then it asks me where I want to save that file to. So it's defaulting to my documents. I'm just going to pop it onto the desktop and save. Now, we don't get anything at this point to indicate that that's been successful, okay? What we will get is a message if something's gone wrong, okay? Now, I haven't got that message. It's not hiding elsewhere. This has gone through and created the file for me. What I will show is just show you where it can go wrong so that you can have a quick look at that. So bear with me 1 second. I just want to grab the file so you can see that. Just so you can see what it looks like. Just pausing the screen for a moment while I pull this across. There we go. So I've just found the file on my desktop that it's just extracted there. And as you can see, it's just a very basic text file. Probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you just reading that, but you'll be able to see things like their account number or their sort code is hidden in there. And this is in the specific format for that particular bank. So what you would find is you'll have lots of lines, one for each supplier, which is the file you need to import to your banking software. So this is where it's for you to now log into your banking software and upload the file to your bank. So I do just want to show you what happens when things aren't quite right so that you know how you can start to identify what's gone wrong. So that one was a successful run. And as you can see, I still have those older payments sitting there. So they will just sit there forever unless I do something about them. So I could just extract them, go to send, and extract the file, but never upload. So I'm just going to pop into a slightly different data set that I've got, just for demonstrating this one. This one here, the Ebanking one. And just want to log into this one here. Again, we're using the RBS NatWest Internet Bank line. And I'm just going to go through the same thing. So I'm just going to make sure I've got a payment. So I'm going to go through payments, e-payments, and I've got a payment on account there, which I've processed. Click on send and OK. And OK again. So it's just like a wizard. Save the file. And it's going to replace my other file. That's fine. And something has gone wrong. So now what we have is the payment error log. So this indicates something's gone wrong when we've been trying to extract the file. And if I say yes to this, it will allow me to view what's gone wrong. So it's telling me there on the record there's an invalid or missing payee bank account name. You can also see previous failures as well. So actually it's only failed on this now. What we had when I previously tried at 8:39 this morning was a similar error. Okay, so you can start to see where those errors have been appearing. So if I have a look at that record now, so go and find my record for this supplier here, pop into this one here, and we'll have a look in the bank because it's saying there's invalid payee details. Well, you can quite clearly see there's no bank details entered there. So that's why that's failed. So if you've got the payment error log, it means something's gone wrong. If you haven't received a message, but you have received a file in the location you specified, then you will be able to export that and upload that to your bank. So that is basically the e-banking feature. So yes, as I keep saying, a bit of an investment of time, but once you've got it set up, really you process your suppliers as normal, and it's only a few steps to extract the file. I'm just going to pop back into the demonstration data for one moment because I do just want to show you a subtle difference if we use a different plugin. So I'm just going to change my bank from NatWest to my other plugin and save, and then close. And if we try the ePayments file again, this time I'll just try one of these. Show the details again, that's very similar. But as you can see on this one, I'm getting a slightly different window here. Okay, so this one's asking me for a processing date for payments rather than that one around IATs and domestic transfers. So they can be slightly different, but these will probably be things that your bank would ask you anyways when processing transactions. If you are unsure on anything around these windows, do check with your bank because some of these are very specific to the plugin. But again, it will just go through that same process of extracting the file. I'll pop it on my desktop. And again, that one has gone through. We've not got a payment error log, so we've got a successful file there. Okay, so I'm going to pop back to the slides there. And as I mentioned, all of this is in the handout for you. So links to those articles as well that shows you the payment file format for each bank that we have plugins for and how to extract those payment files as well. Now, we do have lots of customers who use banks that maybe don't have plugins. Okay, so what we do have is an alternative, which is not e-banking, but it's very similar, and it's something called Supplier Payments via our partners Modular. So if you're in a position where your bank doesn't have the plugin, but you really would like to start looking at doing some form of payment to your suppliers directly from your software, then Supplier Payments may be a feature that you want to take a look into. It allows you to pay your employees as well from payroll software. So once you've set this up, if you're using accounts and payroll, it can be used for both, and also for paying HMRC once you've done your payroll and also your VAT return as well. Now, obviously there is always a cost with these things. Some of these are included in subscriptions, but it does depend on the subscription you have with us. So if you do want to find out a bit more, then we do recommend speaking to our technical support teams who can point you in the right direction there. However, we do have a really useful hub. So probably before that, you'll want to understand a little bit more about how that feature works in comparison to the e-banking feature. So for that, I have provided a link to the hub, and there's a set of 6 videos which shows you all about setting this up for supplier payments. We have an equivalent for Sage 50 payroll too. So if your plugin isn't available, this might be an alternative option for you to maybe take a look at. So the link is in the handout there. I would recommend you have a look at that if that's of interest to you. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick summary. I've provided lots of the links for you today also in the summary there. And then we're going to do a really quick video around our Sage Champion and Advocates sort of plan that we have going on at the moment. So first of all, it is ultimately a great time saver if you're producing lots of supplier payments and you're doing them in bulk. Bear in mind, you do need to have a compatible plugin that is supplied by your bank, but that can be found through web links within the software that you can install. This means that the files can then be uploaded direct into your banking software. And if you can't use that, then Supplier Payments through Modular is also a great alternative. Okay, so I think we're on top of the questions so far, but this is a great opportunity for you to get your questions across if you've got any outstanding there. Well, like I said, just going to show you a very quick video on Sage Champions. So you can join to become a Sage Champion. This video will explain a little bit more, and we have done some recent webinars just dedicated to champions as well. So champions only webinars if that's something you're interested in. And you can be a Sage Champion for both accounts and payroll as well. So I'm going to just let this video run and we'll be back before we end the session there. So please do get your questions across.
Introducing Sage Champions. If you're looking for help with business challenges, a way to supercharge the way you use Sage, or somewhere to network and showcase the amazing work you're doing, Sage Champions is the platform to do just that, and so much more. It's a friendly community powered by exceptional customers just like you, who share bright ideas and celebrate each other's business wins. And we'd love you to be a part of it. When you join, you'll unlock access to forums where great discussions are always taking place among your peers. You'll also find some awesome content created by Sage to help you meet your business goals. And the best part is, when you share your stories through blogs, videos, and speaking slots, you'll earn reward points that you can choose to exchange for Sage merch or use your points to donate to your favorite charity. Grab this opportunity to form powerful connections, learn from each other, and grow your network. You'll get early access to news, events, and special offers, and even VIP access to product testing and other early adopter programs. It's a truly unique experience you can only get through Sage. It couldn't be easier to join. Simply fill in a very short form online and we'll do the rest. So let's get started. Join the Sage Champions community today.
Okay, so that was just a quick video there around the Sage Champions, and there's more information available in the follow-up email today. Okay, so just going to come back to one of the questions I mentioned earlier. So right at the very beginning, we talked about imported payments. And the question was, does this mean invoices marked as paid on auto entry? So the restriction there is your, if I just go back to this one, imported payments on account transactions through the file import feature. The thing is, if you're bringing across invoices from auto entry, they may not have the reference with the backs sign in there, which could cause issues there. So it's really important that any transactions that you're posting do have that backs reference. So that might interfere if they're coming from auto entry, because they won't necessarily have the backs reference in the reference field, which will require for e-payments. Okay, so I think we're pretty much on top of the questions there. I am going to cover one that Abby has highlighted there, just around the plugins. So I'm going to pop back into the software and just go back into web links. So we do get this a lot on technical support, and we have done for quite a while there around, I use a particular bank, but my bank name's not there. So if you're not sure, we always recommend you speak with your bank first. Okay, so we couldn't say to you, oh, it's definitely this one here, because obviously Barclays provide 3. We would hate for you to put all of the time and effort in and have told you the wrong plugin to use. So please do check with your bank if you're not sure if that's the right plugin. check first of all, okay? And they will be able to guide you on that one. And it will need to be banking software that you're using for uploading those transactions. Okay, so I think we're pretty much on top of the questions there, but while we're still going, I'm just going to show you about the upcoming webinars that we have over the next few weeks. So I am back this afternoon at 2 p.m. We're going to be having a look at the year-end process. So if you're finding yourself in the situation where you're doing your year-end and maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed, or you just want to check that you've got the steps right, then we're going to be looking at that at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Now, to find access to our webinars, you can go to sage.co.uk/help. You can click on Sage 50 accounts, and then if you type in the word webinar, it will take you to our webinar for Sage 50 accounts and also our recordings. So if you have missed any sessions and you want to have a look at previous sessions, then you can look at the recordings page. We've got a whole heap of recordings available there. If we pop into webinars, and in here you can see all of our upcoming webinars there. So we've got projects that we're looking at. We're also looking at clearing out transactions as well. And in product records, we're starting to look at product records and invoicing as well over the next few weeks as well. So please do have a look at those sessions coming up. And if any of those take your fancy, do get yourself registered for them. And I have a quick question there around auto entry. So what I'm going to do with that one, I will need to just link in with our colleague in auto entry and just double check that for you. We'll just run a quick test for you. So I'm going to come back to you on that one and just do a quick check on that one just to make sure before we commit. So we'll maybe reach out to you after today's session just to check in with you on that one. So as I mentioned there, with regards to the webinars, get yourself registered. We've got the whole of May registered now, uploaded now, so you can see what ones you want to join us for. And as always, they are free of charge, so get yourself registered there. Okay, so I think that's us towards the end of the session there. No more questions outstanding at the moment. So we'll probably draw the session to an end there. So thank you very much everyone for joining us today. As always, been an absolute pleasure to have you all joining us on today's session. We're back this afternoon and again we'll be going again tomorrow. So get yourself registered and we'll see you all very soon.